Anytime I upload a video about a premium aircraft in War Thunder, I get comments and sometimes in stream chat of people asking me what premium aircraft would I actually recommend you buy and what would I buy with my own money, because more often than not I usually have some pretty negative things to say about the premiums in this game. I do want to point out that if it were me personally buying something with my own money, I wouldn't be paying $65 to $75 for one of these premiums. I just don't think it's worth it at that price. So I would recommend that you wait until these things are actually on sale before you pick one up. That being said, the F-5C is definitely not a bad option. The main gripe I have with the F-5C is just how slow it is. I've spent many minutes of my matches just chasing people. And that is going to happen pretty often. You're going to spend a lot of time chasing them and there's nothing you can really do about it. So you could pass the time by checking out today's video sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends, which is available on iOS, Android, and PC, is one of the most popular games in the entire world right now. With both PvE and PvP gameplay to experience, it is an extremely versatile game that pretty much anybody can very easily get into. Whether it be from the thrilling campaign or the intense PvP, you can unlock your own champions, of which by the way there are over 700 of, and create your own lineup tailored exactly to your playstyle. Raid Shadow Legends has some of the best art and graphic design on the mobile game market right now, which is going to keep you focused and immersed in its satisfying gameplay. Not only that, but you can easily create or join a clan, which makes it very easy for you to play with your friends. And lastly, I do want to mention that it is Raid's 5th anniversary, so to celebrate, they are giving new players who join by clicking the link in the description down below over $50 worth of in-game content for free. Even if you've played Raid Shadow Legends before, with the constant new content coming out for this game, it is essentially an entirely new feel. So click the link in the description down below and get started playing for free today. Now let's get back to the F-5C. As I said, this plane is pretty damn slow at battle rating 10.3, even at barely supersonic speeds on the deck. It's about Mach 1.2. You're really not going to be catching anybody, and if somebody wants to sit on your 6 and just force you to have to react to them or have to fight them, you really don't have any choice but to do what they say. You're too slow to actually run away from anybody, and it can sometimes get you locked into some fights that you really would rather not be dealing with. Other than the speed issue, at 10.3 this plane is extremely solid. That being said, this kind of goes back to the question that I get all of the time, should I buy the F-5C or the F-4S? And now people might even throw the F-20 into that question. My answer is pretty much going to be the same. If you're a newer player and you're looking for the fastest route to get to top tier because you're not interested in the props or the Korean war jets or anything like that, you just want to play these modern aircraft and you want the missile combat and all that kind of stuff, I would recommend the F-4S. Not necessarily because it's better. I definitely think that a more experienced player is going to get more use in grinding through the F-5C, but I genuinely think that for newer players, the F-4S is just going to be easier, more accessible, more consistent to do well in if you don't really know what you're doing, and most importantly, I think it's a good step in the direction of the gameplay that you're actually looking for. Your end game here being you want your top tier vehicles, you want the modern jets and the missile combat. The F-5C doesn't really offer that. And while that might be acceptable because it's what you're going to use to grind, it's not really your end game, the F-4S allows you to actually grind through the modern vehicles and get a bit of taste of missile combat and missile thunder at the same time. It's got 4 Sparrows, it's got radar, BVR capability, all that kind of stuff. And so it does actually give you a hint of modern jet combat. The flight model does leave a bit to be desired at 11.3, but as I said, a newer player is probably not going to notice that. They're going to be reliant on these missiles, and that is the main reason why I would recommend a newer player to play the F-4S over the F-5C. The F-5C only has 2 AIM-9Es, and they are certainly not something that you're going to be reliably getting 2 kills a game with. They definitely can be useful. Having any missiles is better than no missiles, but it's more so making people slow down, making people react to you, maybe getting somebody killed that's stalled out, that kind of thing. But your main weapon with the F-5C is going to be the guns and the flight model, and so you kind of have to have somewhat of an idea of how to actually properly fight people. And again, if you're a more experienced player, this isn't as much of an issue, and this is also the reason why the F-5C lets you have more control over your matches, and thus, technically, in my opinion, could be a better grinder. Here's a perfect situation on screen of what I'm talking about. I have a Vigan as well as a J35XS right here. Let's create a scenario where I am a completely new player. I just want to race my way to top tier, so I bought the F-4S. If I'm in this situation with 2 people that just did a full 180 for me to get behind my 6, I probably would not know what to do with my Phantom. I'd have worse flight performance, I'd be unable to dogfight them, and I would probably just die. With the F-5C, with a little bit of knowledge of what to do in this kind of a situation, they've obviously bled a lot of energy. I can take advantage of that by taking them vertical, and they're just not going to be able to follow me. So best case scenario, my team comes and cleans them up, which is exactly what happens. But if not, I still have full control of this fight with my own flight performance alone, and I can dive down on them right here and get gunshots in. Could I have gone straight up in the F-4S and had a similar result? Absolutely, but the point is, if that fight sustains for any longer than that, and say I miss the shot or I have to deal with that second guy, you're in a much worse position as the F-4S player having the Phantom Flight model. And I'm sorry that I'm going to keep coming back to this, but it is pretty much the main point of the video. If a brand new player that just got his first premium bought the F-5C, he would not have really known what to do in that situation. You do have to have a bit of experience to actually make that work, either survive and also get kills at the same time. Whereas if a new player has the F-4S, he can kind of just fly in a straight line and rely on his Sparrows and other missiles to get the kills for him if the opportunity presents itself. You're not going to get such opportunities with the F-5C because you don't have the missiles to take advantage of such. So in summary, if you're a more experienced player, this is not your first time playing War Thunder, it's not your first jets, then the F-5C is probably going to be the better grinder for the US tech tree. At the same time, if you're a newer player that doesn't have much experience in jets, and especially if you want to experience missile combat as soon as possible, the F-4S is probably the better pick for you because you can rely on the missiles to do some of the work for you, and it does decrease the knowledge that you have to have in order to be able to see consistent success. So basically what I'm saying is that the F-5C has the higher skill ceiling. If you are on the upper end of skill, you can take it further than you can the F-4S. So where does the F-20 come into play in all of this? It doesn't. Don't buy the F-20. I wouldn't even recommend picking that thing up if it's on sale. I would definitely rather see you guys get either the F-5C or the F-4S. You really can't go wrong with either one of them. It's just which one sounds like a more fun playstyle to you and which one do you think you're actually going to be able to make work as an individual. The F-20 on the other hand, at 12.0 battle rating and what it's going to be fighting up against consistently game in and game out, it's not really a consistently enjoyable experience, as well as the fact that $75 just for the privilege of getting slammed by F-16s every game. And that is one more other point I want to bring up, is that the F-5C, in my opinion, is not quite as up-tier proof as the F-4S is, and it's going back to the same reason, the F-4S having the missiles that it does. You see the same missiles even at top tier sometimes. And so even when your plane is completely outclassed in almost every single way, you can still sometimes find situations where you're able to crutch on your missiles and have success anyways. The F-5C, that can be a lot more difficult because if your plane is just straight up outclassed, you don't have the missiles to fall back on that are going to get kills for you. So which US premium should you buy? There's my answer. I hope that helps some of you, and now I'm going to spend the rest of this video talking about the gameplay in regards to the F-5C, because I've never actually have made an F-5C video before. What you're seeing on screen is me getting pretty focused down by, I think at one point it was a MiG-21 and a MiG-19, neither of which I can necessarily be comfortable, especially so the MiG-19 taken into a 1 versus 1. And so I'm kind of just flying around, keeping my speed up, making it so that I'm a very difficult target to hit, especially with that GISH-23, and I'm trying to get this MiG-21 away from the battlefield. The MiG-19 I'm a lot more scared of, but thankfully he has pulled off at this point. And the MiG-21 I am trying to drag all alone for a 1 versus 1. He probably has a little bit of an advantage over me, but at the same time, it's a pretty close fight either way between these two planes, so I think I can make up for the difference. But unfortunately, as you're going to see throughout this video, very often I can't aim for the life of me anymore because I've been playing a lot of Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, and it seems like my aim on War Thunder has completely evaporated. That and the fact that I've been playing nothing but top tier. Really quite lucky that that A4 didn't get me in that situation. I think he's got some pretty bad damage. Maybe it's a wingtip missing or an engine damage. I'm not quite sure. Nonetheless, I can easily take on an A4 by himself, so I'm hoping maybe he sticks this fight. But I need to get some speed back because I'm very slow after dealing with those two enemies. And that's another problem you're going to find with the F-5C, is that this acceleration is pretty poor. Even for 10.3 standards, it's going to take you a good while to get your speed back. And so I do recommend probably climbing a little bit, if nothing else, in the F5, just so that you have a little bit of a safety net of altitude if you need to get some of that speed back, because getting in a dive is definitely going to be valuable in doing so. You really don't want to be caught out at low altitude, low speed with something like a MiG-21 or a MiG-19 around, because they have a lot more thrust to weight than you, and they are going to keep you from ever getting that speed back. It's also worth mentioning real quick that I run the standard countermeasures on my F-5C. That way I just get more flare pops. I don't really find radar missiles to be that big of an issue at 10.3. The only time I'm even concerned about it is if I get up tiered into 11.3, and really the only real issue for me is going to be AIM-7Fs because, well, they're AIM-7Fs and I'm an F-5C. Other than that, you have R-24Rs, and I'm not going to be getting RWR for those anyways, so I tend to just stay low altitude if I'm fighting a match where there's a possibility of having R24Rs on the other team. Another theme I think you've seen a lot of throughout this video is I do a lot of flying around, just not doing really anything in the F-5C. Not necessarily because I'm always chasing somebody down that I can't catch up to, even though that is the case oftentimes. Many times it's just people are chasing me and I have to be full defensive the entire time and bait for my team, and then I never really get to reap any of the rewards for all of my hard work. Unfortunately for me in this situation though, I do wish I had some teammates around because I'm 1 versus 1 with a MiG-19 PT, and if he's playing this wisely, which he has so far, props to him, there's really not a whole lot I can do to actually fight him. I have to run away. Once I start getting slow, he has all of the energy in the world to fight me, and he's also going to turn just as well as me if he actually puts his mind to it using his air brake and his flaps and all that. So I'm in a bit of a pickle here. I need some teammates. As you see me running away, I am doing a bit of a shallow climb to try to get a little bit of an altitude, and that way I can dive down and get some speed back when I'm doing maneuvers like this, which is going to cost me a lot of speed. Again, it's about having a safety net of altitude to make up for this plane's terrible acceleration. I'm doing my best to try to get an overshoot in or get any kind of firing solution just a split second where I can get my guns on target and possibly do some damage to him. Granted, I hit the shot, which I probably wouldn't, but I just can't find it. He's flying this MiG-19 extremely well, extremely cautious, and when he's doing that, there's really nothing I can do. And so I do the same thing. We need to build up the speed back that I just shed off trying to get that shot in, and I'm also going to do another shallow climb so that way I can dive down and get some speed as I make my maneuvers. And I'm going to be calling for help in chat because, as I figured out, this guy's got a brain, he knows what he's doing, and I'm not going to beat him 1v1. And so I'm looking at my teammates here, seeing if any of them are ready and up in the air as they're at the airfield. And so now I'm going to begin flying that direction. Jumping ahead a bit, now I have the MiG-19 a little bit closer to me. I am reeling him in to try to get him a little bit more tunnel vision. Think he has some shots on me. That way he stays focused on me and doesn't see that this F5 is sneaking up on him. And I also have to get him slow because the F5 that my teammate's flying is also not going to be very quick. And so the MiG-19 could easily just run away from him if he actually notices that guy. Luckily, it looks like the plan is working out. The MiG-19 is very tunnel visioned on me right now. He's air braking behind my 6 to stay behind me. My teammate gets an AIM-9E off, and I try to keep the MiG-19 flying nice and straight so that the AIM-9E actually hits him, and that works out. The MiG-19 has taken severe damage. Looks like he's flat spinning, and now I just have to worry about this MiG-21. It's a MiG-21S, so it is definitely not going to be an easy fight, but I still do have this Harrier with me, and it's still going to be a lot easier than fighting a MiG-19, that's for damn sure. So, Mr. F-5C, if you're watching this, I really appreciate the help. You kind of saved me. And you know, some problems just solve themselves, like your teammate and the MiG-21S just going full commit head-on and trading with each other. But there is still no time to breathe because as one goes, another one is here to replace it. Another MiG-21, this is an MF, no, it's an SPSK. Excuse me, this one's going to be a lot easier to fight than the MiG-21S. He has a lot less thrust to weight, and I am going to be able to exploit that if we manage to get on lower speeds. We go up and over to try to slow down and work our way in for a shot. I do get the shot, but as I said, I have a chronic skill issue when it comes to aiming guns right now, and so I miss. He potentially could get a shot here, but he just does not have the energy to pull his nose around to get lead on me, and now he's essentially stalled out. He's going to try to take this vertical once again, and he just doesn't have the speed to do that, which gives me a pretty easy shot here. Do I hit it? I don't really remember. Yes, I do, and he catches on fire, and that's that. Again, that just really comes down to the poor thrust to weight of the SPSK versus just the 21S or the SMT. It's really not a great MiG-21. You have essentially the 9.3 MiG-21 flight performance at battle rating 10.0, I believe. So the F-5C definitely has the upper hand there, and as he noticed, his thrust to weight was not enough to be able to go vertical there, and so that stall was a pretty easy shot for me. It seems as though this is MiG-21 day though, because I have a final MiG-21 to deal with on the other team, and I am now alone. It is 1 versus 1, me with this MiG-21, and this guy is going to be pretty passive. He's going to play this very safe. He wants to stay behind my 6 with an energy advantage, with an altitude advantage, and so be it. I mean, he's not playing it wrong, but it is going to make it very annoying for me, and it's going to draw this fight out a little bit longer than I would have liked. Again, not complaining, he is playing it correctly. Since he did have such a massive energy advantage over me though, I'm just going to fly right past him, get some separation, and slowly turn around. I'm kind of tapping the negative elevator key, for me that's S, to make sure I don't just do a full pull inwards and lose all of my energy. I have enough distance where I can make this nice slow gradual turn to keep all of my speed, merge with him here at much more equal energy than we did that first time, and now the fight is a lot more manageable for me. We're going to take it vertical, he's going to take it vertical. We have so much distance between each other already that we're not really in an advantageous position. We're both going to be trading ahead on. Once again, really I should have pulled off a lot sooner than I did, because I very easily could have ran into one of those rounds that he fired. Luckily we didn't, we survive, none of us take any damage. I take a much more aggressive line than him here to make sure I get the shot in first, because I really don't want to get in a sustained fight with this guy. I'd much rather dump all of my energy. I have the safety net of altitude if I need to dive away, and so it was worth it to just go full send. Thankfully it works out, I get the shot in, he takes critical damage, and that pretty much ends the fight from there. Critical damage, right wing versus an F-5C in this matchup, it's over. There's nothing he can do, he just flies away. All that's left to do now is clean him up, and as we get closer, he tries to make a maneuver, but with that damaged wing, he really doesn't go anywhere, and he loses a lot of speed in that turn. Makes it a pretty easy shot for me, but again, I suffer from the skill issue, so we bring it around, try one more time. Luckily, those shots connect, and that's going to be the game. So, one more time in summary, the F-5C I would recommend for experienced players, the F-4S I would recommend for anybody, but especially newer players. Do not buy the F-20. This is the results screen on the F-5C for that kind of a match. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see ya.